So, have you ever tried to see the world from a completely different point of view? I mean, really different. Today, we're jumping into a source that's not some academic paper or news article. Nope, it's a stream of consciousness from a narrator you would never, ever expect. Let's see what we find.
Okay, listen to this opening line. Aha! I knew someone was looking at me. Right away, it's so direct, so personal. You've got to wonder, who's talking here and who are they sensing? Well, the answer is definitely not what you're thinking.
So it turns out our narrator is a dog. Her name's Maggie. And get this, her big project, with a little help from her older, wiser friend Daisy, is to write a bunch of books about everything she knows. Yeah, you heard me, a dog writing books.
This is Maggie's world, right here. She lives in the high desert. Her whole universe kind of revolves around her boss, who she calls Mr. Steve, and her family. But the key thing to get is how she experiences it all. It's not really about sight for her, it's almost entirely about scent and sound. And this is a perfect example of how her brain just works. One second, she's thinking about something huge, like World War II, and the next, bam, she's totally derailed by a smell or a sound. But here's the thing, those aren't just distractions. For Maggie, the smell of sage, the sound of a snake, that is reality. It's all woven together with her more abstract thoughts.
So if you want to understand what's going on in this text, you can't just read it from page 1 to the end. It doesn't work like that. You kind of have to follow these threads of association, you know? It's like pulling on one little string in a huge, complicated tapestry. So let's do that right now. We're going to pick one train of thought and just see where it takes us.
Okay, so our thread starts right here, with a name that just pops up, seemingly out of nowhere, the legendary baseball player Reggie Jackson. Now, how on earth does a dog in the middle of the desert start thinking about him? Let's find out.
So, the first connection comes from a memory, something her boss told her. Reggie Jackson wasn't just a baseball player to him. He was the guy who made facial hair popular back in the 70s, a real cultural shift. So we go from a famous athlete to mustaches. Okay, so where does her mind jump to next?
Right, so from that whole vibe of 1970s baseball, her brain makes a little hop over to a team that was huge during that same time, the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's a classic associative leap, right? One thing reminds you of another from the same era.
And here it is. This is what ties it all together. The Dodgers had this amazing record-breaking season in '77. But who beat them in the World Series? Yep, Reggie Jackson's team, the New York Yankees. So in just a couple of steps, her mind connected this random piece of cultural trivia about beards to a very specific sports fact, all just through memory and association. Pretty cool, huh?
Okay, so now that we've seen how one single thread works, we can kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture. And when you do that, you start to realize this isn't just a bunch of random noise. There are definite patterns, you know? Big ideas that Maggie keeps coming back to over and over, giving this whole thing a kind of hidden structure.
I mean, check this out. She connects ancient Rome with the Cold War. How? Through this shared idea of a forced peace. A terrifying peace. The Pax Romana was kept by the Roman sword. Everyone was too scared to fight back. And the Pax Atomica? That peace was kept by the threat of nuclear bombs. It's just a massive leap across thousands of years of history, all linked by one powerful concept.
But her connections aren't always these big, sweeping historical ideas. Sometimes they're based on something way more surprising, almost quirky, like this link she makes with Alexander the Great.
Is somehow linked to the rock star David Bowie. And the connection, get this, they both had two different colored eyes. I just love that. She connects one of the greatest conquerors in all of history with a 20th century pop icon because of this one tiny physical detail. It just shows you her mind is finding patterns absolutely everywhere. So what are the big ideas, the anchors in this whole stream of consciousness? Well, they really fall into a few major categories. You've got these echoes of history and war. Then there's the power of music and pop culture. A huge theme is the importance of family and memory, Mr. Steve, her friends. And living in the desert, she's always thinking about the cycle of life and death. And finally, there's this quiet search for faith and meaning. These are really the pillars that hold up her entire world.
So, after all this, what does it all really show us? Well, seeing the world through Maggie's eyes, it reveals a universe where literally everything is connected, or at least could be. But it also tells us something really profound about how memory itself actually works.
And you know what makes this feel so real? It's that not every thread gets tied up in a neat little bow. Not every thought leads to a clean conclusion. I mean, just like in our own heads, right? Some memories are just incomplete. Some threads are left dangling. Like this one name that just shows up in the text without any explanation at all.
The name is Mark Wood. And who is Mark Wood? We literally never find out. The text gives us nothing. No context, no backstory. He's just a name, a total loose end. And I think that's brilliant, because it shows that some connections just get lost. Some memories break apart. And that's just part of being alive.
But for all this deep thinking about history, philosophy, music, you name it, the whole narrative is constantly anchored in a very simple physical reality. A constant presence in the high desert that Maggie feels every single day. And it's all captured in a single word that's repeated over and over again.
Heat. That's it. That is the bedrock of her world. It's the physical feeling that's underneath every single thought, every memory, every smell of sage or sight of a bird. It is the constant, the baseline from which all of these incredible connections spring.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. If you really paid attention to everything, every scent, every sound, every passing memory, every bit of trivia you've ever heard, what kind of wild and wonderful patterns would start to show up in your own mind? I mean, what connections would you find if you saw the world this way?